Welcome. So, y'all, we're continuing this conversation that we began on the original pod, and y'all know we keep talking. We keep it moving, keep it going. And the topic of conversation was really being about how it is, what will it take for us to feel the impact of what's happening in our country and our communities. What will it take for us to get up and respond, and not just respond when it's all the way in our house, but respond as a way to prevent the problem from coming and hitting us directly. And Angela, you were offering some perspectives. Tiffany, obviously, you as well. Angela, the thing I was going to say in response to where your comment had left off when you were giving examples of sort of the beloved community, the building of the beloved community, growing your own food, living amongst each other. Tiffany refers to it as, sort of building of our Wakanda.
Yeah.
And the truth is I believe, and I don't think that this is in disagreement with y'all, but I just wanted to call out that some of these ideas will feel luxurious to some of the folks who are on the listening end of it. Like, I can't wait to get to the point where I can, invest, buy some property in the South and move. I want to get out of my rental situation right now and start to own a home. Really is my next step, but I'm not in position to do that right now. And the only point I was going to make around the various ideas of how we, yes, keep ourselves safe and stay safe, and build safety for our community, is that the battle is happening on all sides. It is coming down on us, left, right, front, back, the stuff we haven't even gotten to yet, but we see it coming down the pipeline. So much so that the dizzying feeling that I think many people feel that causes us to just pull back and check out is exactly the intent. That's the purpose of the speed at which the enemy is moving. It is intended to disorient us. It's intended to throw us off our game and to even in some way absence us from the problems that we know we got to face right now, today, on the belief that maybe this is a bad nightmare and tomorrow when we wake up it's going to be different. I only throw this out to say I'm in full awareness that my fight about FAMU may feel very passionate and personal to me, even if I feel like that fight is impacting all of us, because that's what I've got. That's where my energy lies right now. But that's not to say that if you're not fighting that fight, that you're not fighting. You're fighting, but you're fighting your own different set. And I don't want anyone to walk away thinking that we're attempting to judge your level of involvement, engagement, because you're not on my fight. You might not be on mine, but I assure you, you're probably on your own. And I was feeling in our conversation that the approach felt more like judgment, even if that judgment comes out of a place of love.
I have a little bit of judgment. I
do.
Well, I had a little bit of judgment for people who were like, well, that's what they voted for and who cares? And that ain't my problem. Like, I do have a little bit of judgment. It may not be a good thing
as
to
you
have.
Should. I only simply reminded you that was what you both were saying as well at different points.
I just
but it's also just not true. I think
you did. It was what you were saying.
I'm irritated because it's not true, and I am.
What's not true?
It's not true that that's what they voted for. Like, right. I think.
That point.
I think that what we have to come to terms with is that we are all going to reap the collective consequences, whether we voted for it or not, or whether we voted at all or not. And I think that is the frustration. That is the point of irritation for me. And
but aren't you always telling us that you can't disqualify a person's feelings?
These are my feelings.
If that's what I legit...
These are my feelings. I'm telling you my feelings right now. I'm irritated by it. And I'm also saying I really do feel concerned for all of us. I do. Mm-hmm. I think that my biggest feeling right now is fear for all of us, because I'm seeing a lot of people, some who, because of their consistent, no reprieve from suffering, don't see this moment as any different. So that's concerning. Yeah. I fear for the people who are checked out, because some of them are remarkably talented and resourced and strategic, and we could really utilize them right now. And I feel afraid for our elders and the youngers who are kind of helpless, And not like they can't think or anything like that, but they're relying on the strong ones to kind of pull through. So I think I'm feeling the convergence of all those emotions.
Your own safety, which we'll talk about next week.
Yeah, but I still feel like even above my own safety, like to me, LaMonica is more in direct harm's way than I am by far, you know? So I'm just like, she's been charged by the Department of Justice, right?
Yeah,
So,
I don't know if that's true. I don't want to get into it because I don't want to say anything I'm not supposed to.
I'm telling you for a fact that's true, based on where I'm at.
I don't know. That's all I'm saying.
Well, I'm telling,
I'm worried about y'all equally.
Okay, well, if you know about a warrant for my arrest, then tell me on air. But I don't know of one, and I'm saying,
but I'm still worried
based on what I know from legal. And everything else, I am not in harm's way like that. So I just am saying it's disheartening because where we are is we've created. I don't even want to say we. Some of our folks have created an unnecessary hierarchical us versus them, and I think some of it is our own blindness and our own ignorance over time and how we've approached our folks. Like the most important thing they could do is vote when you're trying to feed your kids is not a good strategy. So I just think, and it's not filled with compassion either. So I really hope that we can pivot in this moment. And
I think, it's interesting, the outlook about that. Well, I'll ask you about your situation. We'll talk more about that next week. Because I feel like we're having an inside conversation and the viewers don't know what's going on. Yeah. But we'll talk more about that next week. So be sure you guys tune in next week. And while we're at it, please be sure you're liking and subscribing and listening to this content and telling friends about it. But I think, a part, one, I want to say, to you, Andrew, I hear you in the sense that people are like, oh, maybe I can invest and buy a house in the South, but that's luxurious. I got to tell you, I've been touring neighborhoods all across the South the past since January. I haven't been back to Florida, but there are actually, and I don't want to say where, there are actually Black towns that exist like this, where they are growing their own food. I've seen with my eyes and talked to them with my ears, or talked to them with my mouth, with my own ears.
I have talked to them with my. That's good talking, though, Tiff. That's the best kind.
I ate with them with my mouth.
Yes, talk to them with my ears. Exactly.
Which means you were listening.
Right. Well, I was gonna say it's a message in that. But those towns exist. And I remember saying, like, gosh, I want to profile you guys. I want to talk about this town. I want to talk about the things y'all do. Y'all got Black-owned grocery stores that, like, the whole town
girl,
Black.
You better get
and they've been saying, no, you shouldn't. Like, why do they want to be on the radar like that? And so Angela, I think we talked about this early on about moving in silence. Yeah. You don't have to tell everybody your plan.
Yes.
And so I'm not getting too detailed in my plan, but I've been doing serious research, writing, and looking into what it would look like. And Charles Blow wrote a great book about it, about reshaping political power, which is, to be honest, is not where my mind is right now. My mind is on safety. I don't know.
Exactly.
I don't know what shaping
that's
political
right,
power
Tiff.
looks like right now. Yeah.
That's right, Tiff.
In my first book, I wrote about the fact that people look at Black folks as commodities.
Yes.
Like we're just voters. And even this whole saying, like, if you don't vote, you don't count. The devil is a lie. Like, I count because I'm a human being. I count if I don't contribute anything to this world, I count. And so it's hard for me to finger wag at people who feel frozen in this. But I share your frustration and irritation, Angela, because one, I've just never been able to check out. But even being so checked in, like that, being pummeled with information every day and what's happening every day, it's like, what the Like, I don't even know what to do. And so the only thing I could think to do is, like, I'm going to go out and look for safety. Where can we build? Where can we create? What does that look like? So I don't know, y'all. Can I tell viewers who were asking, the answer is I don't know.
Can I tell you this, Andrew? I want to hear from you. It's just, I want to just point out the fact that us talking about creating safety and insulation for Black folks is not new. Black folks have been doing this since the beginning of time. And even when we did that, that was threatening to white folks. They tore it down. They burned it down. They put highways through it. We've been talking about that on the tour. Or killed it. Tiff been saying that every single week. We rebuke that spirit of death. But yes, I'm telling you, like, this is not new. And we have so many communities. We were in one in Durham, Black Wall Street in Durham. We were in, where were we just the other day? In Richmond, where that was another Maggie Lena Walker. Look her up. Like, the Black folks were starting banks. And when we were thriving, they ran a highway through the thing. So we've always been doing this. But we have to figure out a way when we do it this time that it doesn't get destroyed by a white accusation, right? Gentrification, transportation infrastructure that doesn't serve us, eminent domain, adverse possession, heirs property law, like all of the things.
Basically everything, yeah.
Yeah, but I'm saying, like, we have to be mindful of the fact, like, we're not talking about doing nothing new and innovative.
For my friend, that's not a lesson for me.
Yeah.
No, I wasn't saying it for you. I was just saying, like, for everybody, like, no, we're not
you wanted
crazy.
to communicate a thing. I visit those hamlets and venues very often with family, both in Alabama and in Georgia.
Yeah.
And even in parts of Florida. Rosewood, don't forget, that was also Florida. So I don't disqualify that. I think that is exactly where we ought to be thinking and planning. But I also think we got to be thinking and planning everywhere right now. If your fight is how we build a beloved community, and mine is how do we make sure we keep institutions of higher learning open, since they have been singularly the largest shifter in wealth amongst Black people over the arc of history of our people. It's how we moved into middle classes and beyond. And by our example, it's how our cousins and them have moved right behind us in those same directions. So everything feels urgent. And I don't think we're out of solutions of what we can tell people specifically what you can do. You may not like what that specific thing may be, but there are a lot of specific things that you can do. I mentioned protests. Maybe that wasn't sexy enough, but guess what? It is getting results.
Yeah.
Lawsuits. Again, maybe not sexy, but it's yielding lawsuits. And when you think about the number of executive orders that Trump has signed himself, and how many of them, he could probably count on one hand how many haven't been struck down or not in some legal limbo right now, right? He can count on one hand probably how many are not. Every other one of them is caught up in the coils of the wheel. So it isn't true that we're not winning. In fact, when we have pushed back, regardless of the venue, we have won, or are in the process of winning and are on the winning count right now. Your silence certainly doesn't help, but you standing on the corner repeatedly or calling your member and letting them know that you expect more of them and you expect them to be your representative and not the president's, you do that repeatedly, and then your neighbors do the same thing, is having impact. So it may not be the sexiest thing, and it may not be the thing you want to do. Everybody's not going to be the internet sensation. Everybody's not going to become the celebrity activist. That ain't your ministry right now.
Yeah.
But everybody has something they can do should they choose to do it. Should life lend itself to them being able to do it. That's it. I don't have a complaint. I wouldn't even prioritize which is most urgent and most important, because that's not for me to decide for anybody. Yeah. You know what issues you are facing that are most urgent and important. Who am I? But we all have urgent and important going on right now.
I think Angela's frustration, which I may share, is do something. You know, like this idea of I'm resting. One, it's the idea of I'm resting. And two, it's the idea of fuck everybody else because they didn't vote how they should have.
Well, I want to welcome both you and Angela to Andrew's philosophy since before and then after the election. And all I'm simply saying is that we have to make room for welcoming others onto that ship, because a lot of people were there.
But there's also, which I'll talk about this at some point this summer, but there's about what I'm writing about. But there's a lot of heartbreak that happened after that election, you know,
which is why I'm not in judgment.
Right. No, I know you're not. I don't think any of us are in complete judgment. I got a little judgment. We're not in complete.
I'm just hoping to call you up, not call you out, but call you up.
Y'all, and I was it wasn't like one or two. It was one after the next. Like, F them. That's what they voted for. Who cares? I know the problem. That, you know, and it was like,
think any of them were bot farms? Was it bot farm
that's
energy?
The thing. It was too many. It was
Tiff went and checked their pages to see if their children was on on the
because they're
page.
listeners.
I only know
I do
public
that sometimes.
sentiment through Tiff, so she's my vent.
The
about what
YouTube
folks are saying.
people, sometimes on Instagram, you can tell they're bots and you can go to their page and see. But on YouTube, these are consistent listeners. And I know that because they will say, Tiffany, you getting on my nerves with your doom and gloom.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, you're
Because you were
somebody
there for a
who's been
long
listening.
time.
Right.
Judgingly a long time, right? By some admission.
Completely. And these people have been listening a long time. And to be honest, I'm still not out of my doom and gloom. I mean, a part of me feels like we're about to go through some shit. Like this is
we are
back to like Reconstruction days. This is back to Jim Crow days. And I'm worried about bracing myself. I'm worried about my immediate family. I'm worried about my friends, like all of those things. And so for me, I do not do well when it's chaos and I'm running around and flapping my arms in a circle. Like that is not how I approach it. I just can't function that way. Like if it's chaos around me, I'm going to remove myself from it. I'm going to sit in quiet and I got to think through shit myself. Other people can act in haste. I was scolded again for saying this person's name, but I'm gonna say it again. Albert. Like Albert is one of those people, like if things happen on the hill, but he's juggling, he can quiet the noise in real time and act in haste. I think Angela maybe is a skill you learn in law school. Because I feel like a lot of people who are JD.
Survival instinct.
Maybe. But it just seems like a lot of people who are JD'd have that skill, you know, where it's like, give me the bullet points and then I'm gonna figure something out.
In some cases, if it were quiet and calm, they might create the tornado.
Wait, and be like, now what's going on here? Something ain't right.
Yes. You done created the tornado.
I can't take it. If it's a tornado, I'm going the other way. Even people who are tornadoes, I'm like, I think
that's I think their personality types. Some people thrive well. And by the way, thank God.
Yes.
Because some of us, as you just said, shut completely down. It's like the world has got to happen without me.
Let's go.
I don't shut down, but I move away.
Tiff, I think about with MSNBC, you know, or Andrew, like stuff with the campaign. Like what I'm not going to do, if I'm watching y'all stand there, I'm like, come on, hell, like I'm going to cover you because I'm worried.
That's such a good example. After MSNBC,
or filling into a space that we can't feel for ourselves.
You can't. You're in the middle of the forest. All you can see is the branches in front of you. You can't figure that out. I was in the middle
of a tornado.
Yes.
Like I was frozen. You know, I was literally frozen. Angela was like, okay, let's go. We're going to talk to this person. We issuing a statement. We doing this, and this. Like, if it were up to me, I would have just laid on my couch probably for a week. You know, like I can't even, it was too much incoming. My world had been devastated. My finances had been devastated. Yeah. So that is a great example of I don't thrive in chaos, even when it's my own chaos. Like I can't, I need people who thrive in chaos at that moment.
But here's the only thing I'm going to tell y'all, because I think this is true for both of y'all too. Like, I have actually seen y'all see somebody else's chaos and you bust a damn move. So that's not true.
I feel very comfortable being ambidextrous.
But that's true. But I was going to say, like with Tiff, I can understand why Tiff is very regimented and structured. Andrew is in that, unless he's losing his phone, but he's like that in most ways. He's right. He's ambidextrous. He's right. But Tiff, the thing that is remarkable about you is I think in chaos, you'll still be like, okay, now here's the structure. I can understand in this instance because it is chaos on every side. Like everything that we could lean up against for safety is now in upheaval. I can understand why you're like, well, the structure that I would put in place is even disorienting for me. So I can't build where there's no foundation. So I can understand how that, but I would say this, I would challenge you in your research, in your writing, when you're going to the South for safety, to make sure that you look at, and I'm sure you probably already are, the things that we built historically, why did they crumble? Mm-hmm. Right? And that's one of the things that's helping me right now with the tour stuff and then going to our Baltimore National Convening. What worked about Gary? Y'all watch the Nation Time documentary at home if you haven't already. And what didn't? Why did they give up? Or did they give up after that last meeting? We met the youngest delegate in Gary, Larry Ham, in Newark, right? What are the things that we can do to learn? That is why we cannot discard our elders, because they hold the keys to and the blind spots that we would have if we don't take the time to listen to what happened. These young people, the bravery they have, the gusto, like, let's just go. We just gonna go figure it out. Yes, y'all start running, but let me also go back over here and check with this elder about what might have went wrong and what we could avoid going forward. So I would say, even while we're building and talking about the migration and talking about farming and talking about cooperative economics, we still got to figure out where the loopholes and the challenges have been in the past. I suspect one of the big ones is the people who were economically strong in those different eras thought that they were invincible. Mm-hmm. And we're starting to see some of that for the folks who felt like they were invincible politically, the folks who thought they were invincible economically, and they're getting hit too. Yeah. So now they want the poor folks who've been experiencing the struggle to carry the weight of what they're now experiencing too. And these men like, we've been told y'all motherfuckers, like, where y'all been? Yeah. You know, so we got to figure out the balance. I think that some of that may just be an apology for the blind spot. And now we do have to build together because we ain't got no choice. That is the position we're in. And you could choose to sit at home and not do anything. And you could choose to keep building with your rich friends, or you could choose to keep building just with the hood. But I will submit to you, that is not sufficient in the era we're in, because we're all on equal footing. If there was ever a democracy where we're all on the same footing ever, it is right now.
Can I, real quick, because we got to go. Nick, our producer, Nick, is like, we got to go.
Nick, it's too bad. We having a shut-in today.
But what Angela said is so good, because Nicole posted something like this, but it's like, it's only so much we gonna learn from social media. Now is the time for reading. And when you say what went wrong, when we're trying to figure out what's next, one, if you read about what happened, then you can anticipate what's about to happen.
That's right, too.
You can anticipate what's happening and what's about to happen. And two, learning those infrastructures and what went wrong. Yeah. And I have to just give a really quick shout out to our friendship circle on this podcast and beyond, because in some of this reading, Cleveland Sellers' name comes up a lot. And I think about our brother Bakari, Mychael Harriet's family, who's distantly related to Jim Clyburn, and his family worked with the Sellers family. And Van Newkirk, who is an amazing writer at The Atlantic, whose dad is an HBCU president, who Angela knows and works with. And the fact that our elders produced these children, and we are all friends now, and Bakari is on the front. He doesn't talk about it a lot, but Bakari is on the front lines of so many fights. So I love that brother for the work that he's doing. Mychael Harriet is still like, he's another like thinker and researcher. Like, it's time for the thinkers, the doers, the writers, the ideas people, like all of that is happening. And I feel so blessed to be in community, because that right now is the only thing I don't want to fix this government right now. I can't trust this government right now. The only thing I can trust is us. Yeah. And so to be enveloped by us, I just love y'all and thank y'all for that. And encourage people to read. That's my CTA. Read.
I think that's a good time to say welcome home, y'all, because this will always be a safe space, and we were going to keep building. We're going to figure it out, because you know what we don't have is any other choice. How about that? Native Land Pod is a production of iHeartRadio in partnership with Reason Choice Media. For more podcasts from iHeartRadio, visit the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your favorite shows.